Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You're just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Kristina Robertson. Kristina is a confessional spoken word performer, writer, and producer in Santa Clara, California. She has competed in 2 national poetry slam competitions. Her work has appeared in Overachiever Magazine, a digital platform giving a voice to all AANHPI women, and was published in Chopsticks Alley Art's Asian American Healing, a nature walk guide. Her first full-length book of confessional poems, titled Getting Out of My Head with Poems from My Heart, will be available this October. Through her work with Chopsticks Alley Art, she helps to promote Southeast Asian art and provide platforms for artists to showcase their talent, all while sharing her love for art and poetry with her community.
I slowly drift out into the Red Lotus Sea, petals propagated by reflective uncertainties. Stirring my limbs feverishly, I feel as if I'm drowning, a hollowed seashell silenced from the rolling waves. Find me running barefoot in the forest, grounded to the dirt, hair blowing crossly in the wind. I stumble on the branches and fall into Mother Earth. Her vibration shudders the tips of my fingers. I lay like I was 250 on a clock, stretching every muscle while emerging from nature's womb. This American soil is my sanctuary. I'm like a dandelion blowing in a hurricane, wishing to feel poised in my own mixed freckled skin. I smell the moss and wet tree trunks, purest air to breathe. I breathe it all in and out and fall back into the sea of empathy hailing my body. Riding the waves of my emotions, I tread softly, reflecting underneath the surface of my confusion, allowing the salt to heal my apprehension, and remembering that I'm never alone on this earth when I have my mother and her roots inside of me. Thank you so much.
Well, hi, Kristina. I'm really excited and honored that you're here today. Thank you so much for spending the time. And, you're an amazing, beautiful poet. You create like such beautiful art. I'm so happy that you're here. How are you doing today?
Hey, Denise. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm doing great, actually. Just really happy to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really happy too. So, I just love to explore because I feel like you have so much like background that like came what like helps you to produce your art. So I'm excited to explore that with you. So just starting off, can you share a little bit about your journey into poetry? So what first drew you to this art form, and how did it become a vehicle for your voice?
Well, I started writing poetry. I took a poetry class at Chabot College one summer, and I remember I was going through kind of a difficult time. I think I was going through a breakup, and the class was very, very therapeutic for me. It helped me to just kind of put in to words the emotions that I was going through. And that's just kind of how it started for me. And then I think our final project was at an open mic, and I was really, really, it felt very cathartic to release that emotion on a microphone.
Oh.
That's how it all started. And then I started getting into slam poetry. And gosh, going down memory lane, this is crazy. Because this was all like, I want to say early 2000s, late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And let me go back. Sorry, Denise.
No problem.
So it was the class that started the poetry for me. And then I started going to open mics frequently. It was just very, like I said, very therapeutic to share my poetry in a setting where it felt everyone was very welcoming and loving and supportive, and it felt like church,
Oh.
and it just encouraged me to continue to read every week. And then I started getting into slam poetry, which is more of a competitive poetry level performance,
Mhm.
and that's just how the journey began for me.
That's so beautiful. I love that journey, and thank you for sharing that with us. So, I know that you've mentioned that you speak about your experiences being mixed race in your poetry. So, with that, growing up in a small town, mostly raised by your father,
Mhm.
you said that you weren't always connected to your Asian side. So, can you share how that shaped your sense of self?
Yes. My parents divorced when I was really young, and I did choose to live with my father just for stability reasons. And we did move to a very small town up in Northern California, and not a lot of Asian representation, not a lot of people of color in general.
Hmm.
It was pretty hard because I was very confused. Didn't know like where I'd fit in. I remember like specifically just my name is Kristina Robertson, and even in like class when they would do roll call, they would say Kristina Robertson, and I would say here, and they were like, "Wow, I was expecting a more exotic name." It was just like
Yeah.
at the time I wasn't thinking anything of it, but now I look back and it's like these are like very racist,
Yeah,
like
totally.
like very racism. Um, but I don't know. It's just like I knew there was something missing in me, and I was just very, very confused growing up. And when I would go visit my mom in the Bay Area, it felt like, oh my gosh, like there's so much culture, so much diversity. And
Mm.
I almost like wonder like what would have happened if I had chose to live with my mom instead.
Right.
But it's definitely felt like, mm, I really was searching for that missing something in me, and I
Yeah.
think I think poetry really helped me find that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And yeah, it was also not until I was in college when I learned more like just history and like knowledge and just
Mhm.
microaggressions, I think. And
Yeah.
like how things are like people say it so innocently too, but it's like, no, actually that's really racist that you say that. Like, oh, you must know martial arts or you must be good at math. And do you feel like having that it sounds like you have kind of a experience being an outsider. Do you feel like you had that Asian American identity though when you were younger?
I really didn't feel like I had it because when my dad remarried, he remarried with she was white as well. So my dad's white
Mm.
and he married a white woman. And so I was always known as like the Asian daughter. Like that's
Oh,
how they identified me as, oh, this is my Asian daughter. And I was almost like, why couldn't I just be a daughter? Like I'm a
right,
person.
right.
Yeah, it was just really hard to really identify as really anything. I mean, I think more than anything, I just wanted to be at that time white because that was
Mm.
what I was half of. And it was hard because even that I wasn't accepted as that at all completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were assuming I was, they would always call me names like racial slurs.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just really hard growing up. It really had a huge impact on growing up for me to
Mm.
identify as really anything when all I really wanted to do was just be a person.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry you had to
Mm.
go through that. And you have such resiliency for being able to go through that. So what have you learned about yourself by putting such personal truths into your art?
I've learned for me, just putting my story out there of what I went through, it's really just more of finally, of if not only is it cathartic just to release that emotion out there, but also it's more of it's it's more of an acceptance of finally accepting who I am, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a follow-up to that too. So,
Mhm.
how did poetry become a space where you could begin to explore and express your mixed race identity?
I don't know if you are familiar with, I'm a confessional poet. I really
Mhm.
just only speak from what's in my heart, and just speak from my experiences and my vulnerabilities and
Yeah.
what I went through. So it just really, it's kind of like writing in your diary. Like it just felt like I'm just sharing my life, and that's all I can really do um, for me in order to express
Yeah.
um, what I've gone through and what I'm going through.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I know that you like have those personal stories and like are putting it out there in such like a public space. So do you feel like you had to develop like courage to, get to that place of was it more personal first and then you released it to like friends
Oh,
or like public? So
yeah.
yeah, what was that journey about like being so personal and like vulnerable and putting it out there into the world?
Honestly, Denise, it was really easy for me to put it out there to
Oh,
complete
cool.
strangers. It's almost like, okay, you don't know me, but I'm about to tell you my story.
Yeah,
And I think it's harder for me to tell my story to people that do know me.
right.
And I've never really had a lot of my written word on like public forums until this book is coming out. Um, and even like when I would perform it, if anyone was like recording it or they would like share it, I would never like share it like basically like post it again on my page.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, it's just really weird because I was very afraid of how my family would react,
Mm,
even though they know that the struggles that I went through. But
yeah.
I felt like it was just easier for me to be vulnerable and personal with my poetry to an audience of strangers because there was no judgment. They
Yeah.
were accepting, and that's the beautiful thing about the poetry community. They're very accepting, and there's no judgment, and they applaud your writing and your poetry.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And once your family did find out about these writings, do you find that that was like a place of healing or like started any conversations with your family?
They actually have not heard any of
Okay.
the writing yet. They're gonna.
Okay.
So the book that I'm it's being published next month. October 7th is when it'll come out. That is when I actually had to call some of my family members, my mom, my aunt, and let
Yeah.
them know, hey, my book is coming out. Just letting you know, there's some very, very personal poems in there about family. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And so far, the reaction is they're just happy for me. And I
Yeah.
think that's really a beautiful thing. I actually don't talk to my father right now. It's kind of sad.
Okay.
There was some stuff that we were going through, but I hope that we can get to a place where I can also, have that talk with him and tell him about my poems.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry you went through that. And I also hope that you could come to a place where you could speak with each other again. And yeah, I admire you so much. So I think it takes so much courage to just put your work out there to, personal. So the thing is, like, I actually do some writings too, but for me too, like, it felt more comfortable just putting it out there. I'm like, oh, okay, well, trolls will be trolls or whatever. But it's like, it felt more vulnerable for me to like post it on my personal social media
Yeah,
platforms. So yeah, totally could relate with that. So yeah, really look up to you for being able to make that step.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, so slam poetry is known for vulnerability and power. What first drew you into the slam community and what keeps you grounded in it?
Well, I stumbled upon Berkeley Poetry Slam, I want to say 2006, 2007.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, I hate this. I really do. This
Oh,
is pretty scary. I
okay.
don't know if you're familiar with slam poetry.
No, I've heard
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're sharing a poem. It can't be more than 3 minutes,
Okay.
and 10 seconds. Otherwise points get deducted. And you're
Mm.
judged by five random people in the audience. And they usually
Oh,
judge
wow.
five for content, five for performance.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of like great slam poetry out there. There's like political, there's comedic pieces, there's love poems. Mine is like very, very personal, confessional poems. And
Right.
the idea of performing a confessional poem of mine and then being judged by an audience, it just didn't. I think that's probably why I didn't like it as much as like an open mic.
Yeah.
But I ended up just like actually just like I don't know. I ended up continuing to do it for a couple years, and I ended up making the San Jose Poetry Slam team in 2009, 2010. That was
Hmm.
really cool because I got to like travel with the team to different. I think the first time I did it was in Florida, and then the second year was in Minnesota. And you're just
Hmm.
basically competing on a national level, and it was a great experience. I'm really glad that I had it under my resume, I would say. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not for me, but it's definitely shaped me as far as my performance wise goes.
Oh, that's so cool. No, I didn't even think about that, but that's a really good point. Like, it's one thing to be graded and, critiqued on maybe like a school essay or something that, I could be disconnected with. But, what was that like for you to, have, something so personal be like assessed in that same kind of way?
It was hard because sometimes I would get really low scores and
Mm,
couldn't understand it because I mean, I wouldn't ever write for an audience. I would only write for
yeah.
me. And I'm not saying that a lot of poets did that, but like would write for an audience. But there was just definitely, um, it could be very strategic. Like, okay, if before you performed like a political poem, you might want to follow it up with something more like comedy wise. So I
Hmm.
didn't really have a lot of different types of poetry. They were all just very, very personal pieces.
Okay.
So like there's a lot of strategy involved in the slam. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I don't think
cool.
it just wasn't meant for me, but I'm really glad I tried it, and
Yeah.
I had fun and made a lot of great friends.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's if you've ever could check out a poetry slam, it's
Yeah, I'd love
yeah.
to check that out. So, with that, I know that you've mentioned that you've competed at two national poetry slam competitions. So I don't know if that was one of the ones that you were referring to, but what was that experience like and how did it shape your growth as a poet?
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed like just being able to see the other teams. There's LA teams, San Diego, there's
Hmm.
Hawaii teams. Just seeing all this like different poets from different states come together, and
Yeah.
it was kind of like one big party and like one big it was just a really fun event, like where just the love of poetry is shared amongst so many people from
Yeah.
different communities. It definitely one really cool thing I liked that I got out of it that helped me grow as a writer was learning to write with other people.
Oh, okay.
I actually got to do some team pieces, just kind of collaborating, and
Yeah.
writing with fellow writers that you never would have written before with, and it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to check that out though. Is there a way that folks could like see that? Is it on like YouTube or anything?
Yeah, you can definitely find some on YouTube. Just
Okay.
type in slam poetry. I don't know if it was really big back in the like late 2000, like the 2000s, late
Okay.
2000s. I don't know how many more slam poetries are out there. I know there's the San Jose Poetry Slam that's here, and there's actually one tonight online,
Okay.
and then they're going to be an in-person venue next month. But yeah, the slam
Yeah.
poetry was definitely a highlight in my career for
That's
sure.
really cool. No, I'd love to check
Oh
that out. I used to love going to that, those kind of things too. I used to, yeah, see like Youth Speaks. I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's, yeah,
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 yeah. Very
country
similar.
song poetry. Yeah, but it's, I think there's so much just power in people's stories and being able to put that into the art form. I think that's super beautiful. So yeah, with that, I'd love to speak more about your book that you're about to release. So your upcoming book is called Getting Out of My Head with Poems from My Heart. So what was the process like moving from spoken word to putting these pieces on the page? And also, do you think that poetry lands differently when someone reads it quietly, versus like hearing it spoken out loud?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually really excited because there's just a few poems in here that were spoken word
Okay.
pieces. And I mean, a lot of these actually are new poems that I wrote that I think intended them for to be on page. But as far as the ones that were spoken word,
Hmm.
I'm very interested to see how the reader, especially someone who has heard me perform it, when they read it, does it still kind of translate? You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's just like I'm excited for whoever checks out my book,
Yeah, no,
what
that's
they
cool.
think. Yeah, no, I'm actually looking at it right now. I was
No, that's
like,
cool.
uh, gosh,
Yeah,
what
is
was the
that
journey you said?
no, no, I'm just like wondering like what is that process like? Because with spoken word, do you
Mhm.
like more intentional like how it comes out verbally, like where you do the pauses or stuff, or is there a different kind of process of, I'm gonna say this spoken word versus like this is a piece that I want to just put on paper?
I really don't. Yeah, that's kind of a difficult thing for me to like figure out
Hmm.
because there's a lot of emotion that goes behind the poem.
Oh, okay.
And usually when I write a poem to be performed, uh so a lot of times I have to memorize too. I have to memorize the
Mm.
poem because when you're looking at the page, you're trying to really connect not only with your words but with the audience as well.
Yeah.
And I find when I don't have anything in my hands and I'm not looking down at anything, I can really like, especially if I'm sharing a poem that's like really, really personal from a personal experience.
Hmm.
If I'm able to like really connect with those words, kind of relive that moment that I was in, then there's something that happens in the performance. I think a lot of times the audience can feel that emotion. They can actually relate to, or not relate, but like kind of, I don't know, empathize maybe, or like vision
Right.
what the story is.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, it's just for me, sometimes the performance can change. Like it doesn't always, it's not always the same. But
Okay.
yeah, I hope I was able to answer that
Yeah, no,
correctly.
that's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. No, I love that. And are there any particular poems in the book that you feel capture turning points in your journey with identity or healing?
Yes. So the first chapter in the book is called "In My Skin," and those are the poems about the being mixed race and longing to be accepted. Those poems are uh, all about just the confusion that I went through, and then the identity,
Yeah.
and like I said, longing. And then, but the rest of the book is kind of goes into more of also about the human experience of love and loss and healing and compassion. Those are
Yeah.
the
That's
different
so
chapters.
wonderful. No, like I was telling you, I'm so excited for this book to come out. I'd love to, purchase a copy and, I hope our
Oh,
listeners too will go
thank
ahead and
you.
check that out. But yeah, you have such a beautiful soul and I think you do a really good job of like putting that onto paper.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
I'd love to like talk more about like the work that you're doing with the broader community too. So you co-host the AAPI open mic with Chopsticks Alley in San Jose. What is special about holding that kind of space for Asian American and Pacific Islander artists?
I love working with Chopsticks Alley Art, and obviously knowing my backstory of how I grew up, and
Hmm.
you know, kind of having that confusion and not being able to really connect with my Asian side. I feel that this organization has really, really helped me embrace my
Hmm.
Asian side. And what I love about the open mic is I'm helping to provide these wonderful platforms and opportunities for artists, much like myself,
Uh-huh.
and also, obviously the Asian community, to showcase their work, their artistry. And I feel like with this open mic, they're able to be seen, they're
Hmm.
able to be heard, they're able to share their story,
Yeah.
and it's very empowering. Feels very empowering.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And can you talk more about that though? Like, how did Chopsticks Alley help you to embrace just that Asian identity?
Yeah, so I met with Chopsticks Alley Art, I want to say 2018.
Okay.
And it was there was a poet at an open mic that I went to. He said, "Hey, there's this open mic and they're looking for Asian poets. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested, here's their email address." And at first I was very nervous because I was like, well, most of my poems are about being mixed
Mm-hmm.
Asian. And so I didn't know how this was going to go about. But so Chopsticks Alley Art is an art organization that promotes Southeast Asian art. Being half Thai, I'm Southeast Asian.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed the executive director about the open mic, and I did share, a couple of videos with her. And I don't think she knew like exactly what my material was going to be. But I went to the open mic,
Mm-hmm.
and I shared one of those poems about being mixed, and it was such a beautiful thing, Denise. I swear, like she was so welcoming and so like loving and supportive, and just loved my story, that she like asked me. This is the executive director, Trami, of
Mm-hmm.
Chopsticks. She loved my story, that she invited me like literally to come share my poetry again,
Mm-hmm.
as a feature at another event at the gallery. And I was just like, wow, I felt like to be embraced like that, of an Asian arts organization, and
Mm-hmm.
being mixed, like it just felt like, oh, finally I'm seen, I'm heard. And it was such a beautiful thing. And ever since then, she would always invite me, Trami, to different events. And then finally I started contracting with her in 2021 and helping with the open mic. And it just felt like this organization, like I said, really embraced
Yeah.
every part of me, even the confusing parts, which felt really beautiful.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And, I've done a lot of work with the AAPI community as well. And I think the reason why I want to work with the community, not just because like that's my identity, but also like I feel like APIs face a lot of invisibility still in this
Mm.
country. So with that, what kind of stories or voices have you seen emerge through this showcase that might not otherwise be heard?
Oh, we've experienced a lot. So we always have a lot of musicians coming out sharing, hip hop,
Mhm.
their original songs, singer songwriters. We've had we've even had comedians come out and
Okay.
share like kind of, you know, their identity, like making light of their identity.
Mhm.
And we've had poets as well. We've even had like a young high schooler poet just recently share her
Mhm.
first published book with us. She's
Wonderful.
South Asian. And we've had dancers, visual artists. What's really cool about our open mic is we showcase AAPI artists of
Mhm.
all different mediums,
Oh,
and they all share like their story, whether it's similar to like just the human experience of love, loss,
yeah.
um, and healing, or even about like their identity, their I've also seen a lot of mixed Asians as well. It's really,
Mhm.
really cool to see like very similar stories
Oh,
as
that's really
mine.
cool. No, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I feel like that's a much needed space. So that's, really wonderful and beautiful that you're a part of that and creating those spaces for artists to share their voices that might not have that opportunity in other spaces. So yeah,
Yeah.
with that, how do you see poetry and art more broadly, as also a part of the larger social movement?
Oh, it's growing. There's so much out there. I actually just
Mm-hmm.
got back from the poetry festival. It's I think we, especially given how harsh this world is right now, we really need art. We really need community. We really
Yeah.
need spaces like Chopsticks Alley Art, and the Poetry Center,
Mm-hmm.
San Jose art galleries, music. We need it more than ever now, because it's very
Yeah.
healing for all of us, and it helps us all to connect on something more positive, I think.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful. And what role do you think mixed race and multicultural voices play in shaping more inclusive communities? So I know that, like I think we're moving towards more like representation with, different ethnicities, different
Mhm.
races. But, what role do you think that like mixed race and like multicultural folks play in this role or play in this type of movement?
I think it's just like it's a huge role. In fact, starting to see a lot more mixed,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of more mixed. Um, and I feel like like myself, growing up confused, am I Asian? Am I
Mm-hmm.
American? What am I? Like, I feel like we have a place where we can come in and share our story because we are
Yeah.
also a person too. We also, even though we're mixed, we
Mm-hmm.
have a space to share our story with everybody, if that makes sense. And it was really cool because of me being Asian, half Asian. I can come into a space like Chopsticks and share that part of me and feel included and feel accepted.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so when you perform or share your work, what do you hope that listeners can carry with them?
I hope that they can carry um, a sense of hope. I hope they
Uh-huh.
can carry a sense of healing,
Yeah.
a place where they can be accepted and able to share their story and be vulnerable. Because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like being vulnerable is very brave, and you never know like who is needing to hear that same thing from you because maybe they're hiding
Yeah.
something and your story helped them.
Yeah.
um I don't know, it's just like because a lot of what I talk about abuse, I talk about
Mhm.
um growing up confused.
Yeah.
My heart's been broken many times, and these are all things that I know a lot of people can relate to. um but I'm hoping that by putting my work out there that I can have opened the door for someone else to be able to share theirs as well.
Yeah, I really love that. And has there ever been an experience where someone personally approached you and let you know like what kind of impact your work had on them?
Yeah, I have actually have had a lot of like people come up to me
Wow.
after a show and just said, thank you for sharing that. I can relate to what you went through.
Hmm.
I too have experienced that.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's the most rewarding thing that I get out of um,
Uh-huh.
sharing my work. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's cool. And just when it comes to your writing, do you take that approach? Like, do you write to like have that be able to connect with people, or do you just write, in terms of just like being able to share your story? Yeah, I think we talked about that a little earlier too. Like, are you writing in a perspective of this is going to be for an audience, or are you writing for yourself?
I'm just writing for myself. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's. I
That's
mean,
cool.
I think there may be a like couple poems that like maybe I was. I think just recently I was invited to a um, an art gallery to write an ekphrastic poem, which was I had to find an art piece that inspired me to write a poem. But
Yeah.
in that sense, I found an art piece that I connected to, and I felt like okay, there's something in her eyes in that picture that I can relate to, and I connected with that, and it ended up being a poem about the art piece, but really about myself
Wow, that's
too.
cool. That's really wonderful. So, what do you envision for the future of AAPI art spaces, like the one that you're building with Chopsticks Alley Art?
What I envision,
Um,
I just want to continue being able to provide these safe spaces for these artists to share their work. And I feel like our open mic, especially, it's a really beautiful event that we have every month. That is just the space that they can come in and feel safe and seen and heard and loved and celebrated with. And I just want to continue it. And the gallery is. I'm also been co-producing certain events at the gallery, but we have an exhibit every 3 months inside that space with Chopsticks. And while I don't have any part of the exhibit, it's really cool to be able to see the artists that we're showcasing. And then what we've been doing with our open mic is we've been featuring some of those artists at our open mic. We'll allow them to.
Cool.
Yeah, that's actually been a really cool thing that we started doing recently, because the open mic has been held at the gallery now, and we thought, oh, this is cool. Why don't we invite one of the artists from the exhibit and have them walk our audience through their artwork that's being displayed.
Oh, wow, that's so wonderful. That's wonderful that you're providing that kind of opportunity for folks. I think that's really beautiful. So as you prepare to release your book, what do you hope that it sparks in readers and communities and maybe even yourself?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited, Denise, but I'm also so nervous.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
How
no, I'm
come?
like, just because this is my first book of this is my first full length book of poems.
Okay.
Very personal. I'm just very excited to get it out to the public. And I just hope that it can spark, like I mentioned earlier, just anybody that's looking for, a poem or poetry from somebody that, is really just putting all of their heart and very personal confessional work out there, and willing to read it without any judgment, and just say, hey, I really appreciate what you put out there, because it's not easy putting something this personal out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And also just, if anyone is saying, hey, I can relate to this, or oh man, I went through the same, very similar thing to this, then if it helps anybody, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. I'm so excited for you too. And I could hear it just in your voice, that enthusiasm. And no, I wish you all the success with that because you
Thank
totally
you.
deserve that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to other people or other poets or young people navigating questions of identity and belonging?
Oh, what advice? Just
Yeah.
be yourself, be who you are. Don't be don't hold back. Share what you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can do, because I can only speak from obviously I'm a confessional poet. I write from on a very personal level, and I would just tell anybody that's, if they're going through confusion, if they're especially about their identity,
Yeah.
write it out. Write it all out. What are you feeling exactly?
Yeah.
And some beautiful work can come out of that.
Yeah, no, I really love that. So if you could describe what kind of world your poetry is writing us toward, what would it look like? What do you hope that the world would look like if let's say even your truths you putting out there, like other people putting their truths out there. What do you hope the world could look like?
I'm just looking for more inclusion. We're really including everybody. Everybody, basically. It's just, I really just want acceptance and love for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. No, that's really beautiful. And I had such a wonderful time with talking with you. This was so much fun getting to know you better. And just lastly, before we wrap up, where can listeners find you and your work and support your journey if they would like to connect with you?
They can find me I'm actually on Instagram. It's at Kristina with a Kristina _ Robertson
Okay.
18. Yeah, I'm trying to work on a website too. I'm pretty new to a lot of this stuff. So yeah, they should definitely find me on social media for now. And yeah, when I get a website, I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. No, thank you again. I had a really good time right now. And, again, like I said, I wish you all the best. And I'm excited for your book to come out too. I saw that you're having a launch party. So, I wish you all the best as, this new chapter is opening up in your life. But, yeah, I hope that you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Denise.
Okay, thank you.
She kneeled into his submission. She was always his vision, a portrait of his control to dominate her every decision. She became jaded, resistant. Here lies her naked truth. From constant scorn to emotional abuse, she can't recognize herself beyond her flesh, exposed yet shrouded with conviction. She was clothed in the expectation to always give in and say yes, but it is her scars that shade different. She waters her soul, plants seeds in her mind, opens herself as a lotus flower would. She is resilient to the sun, susceptible under the moon. She learned kneeling is her prayer that seeks worship. Her worn body curved into its own sculpture. Arms painted around her bends, arched back, bruised knees, craned neck to better view her own light. She is of love and light, but wears her darkness like armor. She has been dishonored in her own skin, a rebirth within. A woman kneeling handles her tired work with the softness of her silhouette and the trigger in her eyes. She started to tell him no. Only yes. To herself, she kneels for rest. Her blemishes confess at every sunrise. For every sacrifice she has ever realized, she is worth so much more than he has ever denied. She may be a woman kneeling, but never forget how far she has come, for she is also a woman rising.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that's on my face, I remind myself to take a breath, it's a brand